Hello everyone, welcome once again to Bat Chat. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Steve Baxi.
Today we're tackling yet another episode of Batman the Animated Series. We are nearing the end of Season 1, and today we're going to tackle one of Steve's very favorite episodes. It's Appointment in Crime Alley.
Yes, this is a really great episode. It's an adaptation of a Dennis O'Neil story, and we'll have to talk about the similarities and differences as this goes forward.
Now, if memory serves, and we'll talk about this, this was written by somebody else that's not Dennis O'Neil.
Yes, this was written by Jerry Conway.
Jerry Conway, yeah. So that's interesting. Jerry Conway adapting Dennis O'Neil. I'd say that they're in the same league.
Yeah, I agree. Jerry Conway worked under Dennis O'Neil quite a bit back in like the 60s and 70s with Batman. He's one of the core people that helped design Tim Drake. So
fascinating. Okay, really cool. Well, we're going to go ahead and get right into it. So if you've never watched the show before, what Steve and I do is we create a commentary podcast for you. So that for the next 22 minutes, we'll be watching this episode and talking over it. We use this as both a podcast and a commentary track simultaneously. So if you want to listen to us without the watching it, we will do our level best to provide some context for what we're talking about. Otherwise, grab your DVD or go to Amazon Prime. Make sure to get everything to timestamp 0. Get past the menus and everything if you're watching it this way, and be sure that the episode you're watching is Appointment in Crime Alley, or you're going to have potentially a trippy experience. And now, we're going to get right into it. Here we go. Everybody, please press play right now.
all right, we got the Superman Batman intro once again.
I'm watching the good one.
Yes, you're watching the one that's perfect for this atmosphere.
You know, I say the good one. I love that intro.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think all the intros for these shows are good.
We always talk about this. We can't watch this without talking about the intros. You've probably told me this before. Do the Superman episodes do that?
No, I don't think so, because Superman only had one intro, I think.
Well, yeah, but they showed Superman episodes with in the Batman Superman Adventures naturally. So it made me wonder if, can you watch Superman this way on Amazon, I guess is the question.
I would have to check on that. I don't think you can.
Oh, maybe that's it. Okay.
As far as I would assume concerned, they're not that way, though. Yeah,
but I mean, they're not that way here either. I would assume that if they put Superman up that way, that it would give you that intro sometimes.
Probably. It'd be really fitting
for a couple
episodes, because Superman and Batman had a good number of crossovers.
Uh-huh. More of them in that show,
yes.
If memory serves. I think there's one in season 4 of this show.
Yeah. There's one where Batman's missing and Superman runs around dressed up as Batman. So where we start this off with Roland Daggett, this whole plot of Roland Daggett and trying to blow up areas in Crime Alley and trying to redevelop the place is not in the comic at all. The comic is only about 5 or 6 pages, because it's back in the day when Detective Comics were just like short 3 or 4 page stories at a time.
Wow.
So the only stuff from the comic that's in here is when Bruce gets to Crime Alley and talks to Leslie. And then when you open with him in his house, and when you end the show with him back at the house. Also, interestingly, this is before Alfred was Batman's confidant, so he has no idea what Batman's doing tonight in the comic.
I think it's funny that we go from that explosion into this model, because it almost accidentally implies that we've been looking at the model the whole time, and so you're like, wow, that's a really good detailed model.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's a very sinister way to open the episode.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's wonderful, but I think that's pretty amusing.
Yeah.
This episode has a really different feel from the rest of it.
Yeah, it does. This one's one of the most personal episodes I think we've gotten in this show.
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
Bruce almost feels more human here than he does anywhere else, and that was part of the point of telling this very particular story. Let's make sure we understand why this guy is vulnerable as well as threatening and imposing.
It's a neat way to introduce Leslie Tompkins there. If you don't know, if you haven't seen this before, and of course she's not in the show before this, if memory serves.
No, she's not.
You don't know that she's gonna be a major player in this episode, and that she's gonna be actually the thing that humanizes Bruce, and that's really cool. And she looks like she's in the background of that whole thing, because if you're not watching, she's in the middle of a bunch of picketers.
Yeah.
And she's holding a sign, and then this other guy holds a sign up in front of her. He's like, "Look, don't bulldoze our neighborhoods."
Yeah.
Daggett's plan is pretty thinly veiled, yeah?
Yes, it is. There's not a lot going on there. That's probably the least enjoyable part of this episode is that Daggett didn't really need to be there.
Oh, do you think? Because I think, having this whole development thing, I think is neat. By the way, the soundtrack I'm in love with.
Oh, it's fantastic.
I think it's one of her best. Man, just all the mood stuff in this, and the leaves flying up and stuff. That stuff is really cool to me. Because it's world building. It's these little details. Anyway, what the heck were we talking about? The Daggett thing. I think it's cool because he's one of the mob bosses that we've been building. And so it gives him, yet another episode where he's kind of, doing evil, lurky things in the background. I think it's a good situation. I just think it's silly that nobody but Batman picks up on what he's doing. It's one of those. It's one of those like dumb everybody else down to make your hero look smarter than he had. I mean, he's smart, but everybody else, is made dumb to make him look smart.
Yeah, and I think the whole point of all the stuff with Daggett is we're trying to get back to the 40s and then some of the Frank Miller stuff with Batman, where he's the guy that is in the upper class and helps people that are in these terrible down on their luck situations, and he's very much like the mediator between those two people. And there's a lot of ideas here about corruption. A lot of that comes from the comic as well, where people with the means aren't doing what they should for this area. And that comes back in Batman Beyond really hard. And you didn't really necessarily need Daggett to convey that. You could have just had more random news clips of people protesting or people wanting to tear the area down, and then just do more of these easy stories of Batman going around helping people in the neighborhood. And it would have conveyed the message just fine.
But don't you think that putting a face to it is maybe a good idea when comparing it to Bruce Wayne?
Yeah, probably so.
You've got a guy who's pretending to be a philanthropist like Bruce Wayne really is.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I mean, like I said, it's pretty thinly veiled. I mean, like it's public knowledge that this guy wants these slums destroyed.
Yeah.
And then suddenly there's a gas fire. Ooh, I wonder what happened. And I think that's pretty funny.
Yeah, no, you're right. Maybe
it's a good situation, but that's a little too thinly veiled even for this cartoon material, because so much of this stuff. I mean, the fact that we're doing a slum thing, and a guy who wants to destroy slums in order to profit from them and all that stuff. I mean, like, that's pretty heavy stuff to do in a kids show.
Oh yeah, definitely so. I guess maybe what I'm trying to say then is maybe we didn't need the plan of him trying to blow the place up as much as we just needed more scenes with him convincing people why it should be gone.
I wonder if it's not as superficial as this is a really tender kind of personal story, so we gotta have explosions somewhere, because there's not a lot of action in this episode. I wonder if it's not that simple.
It may very well be. I don't know of any extra information about the production of this episode, but that may be part of it, considering how every episode has that obligatory action scene towards the end.
I also like that we bookend it with explosions.
Yeah, we started and we ended the same way. I think that's pretty cool. And I said this last time, this is the only good story ever with Leslie Tompkins. She is just one of the worst characters in Batman mythology, and the only time she was
you
great.
Think?
Yes, I think so. The only one even close to as bad as she is Jason Todd.
Wow, I've not had that experience with her, and we'll see what she's like in later episodes. Is she like that in the show, even?
She's not in the show much. Every time she's there, she's just kind of exposition person, so the problem's not really there, but she's not a character either. It's more of just a comic history thing of she exists to make you feel bad about yourself, and that's really irritating.
I like her, of course, in the context of this episode a whole lot, though, because you wonder if Batman wouldn't have turned out something more like one of his villains if it hadn't been for her in the first place.
Oh yeah, definitely. She's got if Alfred is Batman's new father, then Leslie is his new mother. And he doesn't see her much, but it's the same kind of relationship, the same kind of nurturing that helped him come out on the right side.
Leslie Tompkins is voiced by Diana Muldaur, who played Dr. Kate Pulaski in the second season of Star Trek: The Next Generation, and was a couple of different random doctors on away teams in the original series. And was always kind of the just like straight man, no nonsense, never remotely sexualized kind of woman. I was really liked her for that. And I was never a big Pulaski fan, but she's a great actress.
Yeah, I agree. I think I remember some of those episodes where she was pretty good. Um, Actually, now that I think about it, what you said about Batman turning out differently, there is actually a story where someone gets his parents, or a kid gets his parents killed on the very same night Batman's parents do, and he grows up and becomes a villain, and there is no Leslie Tompkins there. And the story is like a direct sequel to There's No Hope in Crime Alley, and it ends off with the character of the Wrath showing up in Crime Alley the same way Bruce does, except Leslie's there, and you see what he was missing.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
story
that's
that's not.
fascinating.
You can't find that story in very many places. There's only maybe a couple reprints of it, but it's a really good story. And later they retcon it, and you learn that the Wrath's parents weren't killed by a random police officer; they were killed by Jim Gordon.
Oh wow, that's even better.
Yeah, he's a really fun
That's
character.
fascinating. So then, like, you have the guy who grows up and becomes Batman's, right hand, police confidant guy,
Yeah,
and who creates a villain in the same way that Batman's. Wow, that's neat.
yeah. There's a lots
I
of.
think it's.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was
You're
just gonna
fine.
say, there's lots of anti-Batmans like the Wrath and Prometheus and Hush, but I think the Wrath's probably the best.
I think it's important to note too that Leslie Tompkins has to come from Crime Alley.
Yeah,
That part of the reason that she helps to put Batman on a better path than he could have gone, even though he's still on a really obsessive path, is that she shows him that there are good people in Crime Alley, as he says later on in this episode, and that he's not generalizing Gotham City. So he's able to grow up and still love his city while trying to protect it. And maybe that has a lot to do with her and people like her, if there's, other people that he deals with.
yeah. There's lots of judging whether or not people are inherently good or inherently bad with this episode because the neighborhood is so shot and it's such a terrible place. But a lot of people have the best intentions for living there, and it's just circumstances that get in the way, like this situation here with
This
the
guy
guy
with the
on.
gun is completely understandable, but Batman's got to take him out.
Yeah, exactly. It's very much that classic 40s Batman of he's trying to right the problem in the system as much as he's trying to help the people on the streets.
Yeah, that these you get these singular people that make Gotham a terrible place for their own benefit, and importantly, they're all super rich people like Batman, which shows you that they could do good things for the city like Bruce Wayne does.
Yeah.
And then they create these. They create what's essentially monsters where it brings out the worst in people, where they're not inherently that way necessarily, or are they? I guess that's always the argument. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are you only? It's the question that Joker poses in The Dark Knight. There's Bruce Timm's name. It's the question that Joker poses or actually his whole philosophy in Dark Knight, that people are only good when it's convenient.
Yeah, exactly. At the slightest sign of trouble, these people would eat each other.
Yeah.
It's a great line. Um, Also, interestingly, I love that this episode's written by Jerry Conway because after Jason died,
Memories. Sorry.
after Jason died, and there was lots of debate as to what they were going to do with the next Robin. Jerry Conway's idea was to make a series of Batman stories set in this kind of atmosphere of like slum neighborhoods, and have a kid come out from like a ghetto area and become Batman's new sidekick and call him Raven. That never panned out because DC was extremely worried about keeping things mainstream back then. But if you wanted to do that now, it'd be easy, and that's kind of the whole point of the We Are Robin book that's coming out with Convergence.
Oh, I hadn't heard about that. That's cool. Um, I I would argue that Bluebird has a little bit of that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like Bluebird very much.
I'm not a big fan of her either. I liked her before she was Bluebird quite a bit.
I thought she was okay. She ran my patience thin during Batman Eternal. So
I didn't read that book, but there were a lot of people kind of out of character in that book and stuff, so I don't think you can blame that.
that's true because Snyder didn't write any of that.
He didn't write any of it.
Um,
Corner, Finger, and Broom. We got a lot of We got a lot of those street corners with major creator names in this show. There was some in the last episode we did that I meant to bring up and didn't.
Oh yeah, there were.
I forget what, but there was a major one. We mentioned the Breyfogle thing, but that wasn't even a street corner. That was the name of a place.
Oh yeah. I think Carmine Infantino was there at some point.
I wanted to mention that real quick that when he's looking at the scrapbook, I think it was a scrapbook or was it files? I forget. We're seeing the history of him and Leslie Tompkins there. That's some nice visual storytelling. I like that we don't have to have that in that we don't have to have that exposition and dialogue, and it's really classic cartoon storytelling. You get a lot of that kind of stuff even in comedies, but also serious stuff when you go back to the 40s and you have serials, and they do it in Roger Rabbit quite a bit.
Yeah, you're right.
In calling back to them.
Yeah. I love that this episode production.
Save the apples! Save the apples! If you're not watching, there's a bus and apples. Sorry, go ahead.
I love that production-wise that this episode follows Clock King, because there's a really consistent and important time motif here, and it sort of speaks to the idea of time heals all wounds, but at the same time, time just isn't enough, and there has to be catalyst with change, and not just sitting on your laurels waiting for things to get better.
Yeah, being proactive.
Yeah, I really. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, good. You're fine. Good.
I was gonna say I really like how we every few minutes check in on Roland Daggett's very specific, very golden, very upper class looking watch, and then we cut that back to the back computer and we juxtapose that with how terrible the neighborhood is.
Yeah, and also the way these two men are using their time and what their priorities are. Steve, the city is a character in this in a way that it never has been in this show.
I agree.
You're seeing so much of its citizens, and you're seeing so much of its landscape, and it's just really cool. Like a lot of the time, it's just Batman running across roofs, and so you're you're in the city, but you're above it, and here he's right in the thick of it. There's something about the pacing of this because of that's really different, and I also wanted to mention how much 1989 is in this episode just with regards to the Batmobile.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that.
it both shoots out a line and wraps around a pole and does the quick turn thing, which is straight out of 1989. Yeah. And later on we'll find that it has shields.
Yes, it armors up. It's pretty awesome. This continues to be my favorite Batmobile of anything. Whew. It's so good.
This is thrilling. I mean, like even a cartoon, even in animation, because I haven't watched this in a long time. I found myself when I was watching this in preparation for this review, actually reacting physically to the wheel blowing up.
Oh yeah, a lot of that's the music, a lot of that's the camera angles, and that it really feels like it's a directed episode, not just straight up animation.
Well, importantly, the music drops out there.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, just the sound
just drops out. Oh, it's great. But I cannot help but think that he needs that 60s Batmobile thing of the auto-inflate.
Oh, yeah.
When he puts the shields up, and I love the shields. That's great. And it's not over the top. Like it is, I don't want to call it over the top in 89, but it doesn't go all the way over. It's just the important stuff shields up. But I fully expected, instead of shields, for him to go auto-inflate.
Oh, that would have been great. Yeah, but you're definitely right. The city's coming alive in a way that it hasn't before, and I think.
Did you notice this truck? I'm sorry, I have to point this out. Jay Olsen and Sons Photography.
Oh yeah, I didn't see that. That's really cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm not sure if
Superman. That's a neat reference
at this point.
And of course, this was before Superman. We didn't have that until a couple years after this, I think.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't. It's not a direct reference to there is a Jimmy Olsen, because of course the man's not married with children, so It's just a neat coincidence. There could be someone else named J. Olsen with kids that has a photography. That's possible. But I think that's it. And they never knew if they were going to do a Superman show. So anyway, sorry. I wanted to point that out. That was a cool little Easter egg.
Oh no, you're definitely right. That's really cool. I lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
No, it's cool. It's cool. It'll come back to me, because this is one of the episodes I really like talking about. So there's a really cool sense of Gotham that we don't have in any other Batman series. All the Batman shows I think are on pretty equal footing with each other as far as how good they are. They've all got their pros and cons. But animated series is one big pro that none of the other shows have. Even Beware the Batman, which is my second favorite, is that none of the other shows had any sense of how vast and how important the city itself is. Like where this show screws up, it screws up pretty hard, but at least it always gets the fact that the city is a character right. And you don't see that in many other places. Beware the Batman has that huge problem of the CGI makes the city look like it's completely empty.
And that's often just a problem with CGI in general.
Yeah.
Am I right about this? The guy who voices Daggett, is it the same guy who voices J. Jonah Jameson in the 90s Spider-Man show?
I've never looked up who did in the '90s Spider-Man show.
I'd have to look that up. It sure sounds a lot like him.
Yeah, now that you're saying that, I'm starting to hear it. I'm going to check right now.
Sorry, I didn't mean to distract you. It's just that suddenly came to me.
Oh no, it's cool. It's fun to see how these voice actors translate over multiple comic book shows. Roland Daggett is Edward Asner, and I think that is Jay
Is it
Garner.
is it Ed Asner? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, that's.
In fact, I didn't realize that was Ed Asner. Ed Asner's done a lot of voice work for especially DC stuff.
Yeah, he has. He just does lots of animation. He's always on with something. He does some live action stuff here and there too.
I want to say, was it Ed Asner who did Granny Goodness?
I think so. Yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah, he was Granny Goodness. He was Perry White in All Star Superman, and he was Dr. Fate in Young Justice.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, he's had a pretty strange career.
So we have both Jim Gordon and Leslie Tompkins in this episode, but they don't get to meet and possibly culminate a relationship, Steve.
Well, that's fine by me. We don't want any Gotham situations here. Although maybe part of the reason that Leslie is terrible in everything is because she secretly has a love affair with Jim Gordon and everything, and they just never mention it.
They just never mentioned it before. It turns out that we're seeing the origin for a thing that we did not know was happening the entire time, but it will eventually be revealed after the end of Gotham.
Yes, it will.
I didn't mention this earlier, but I think it's hilarious when Batman first shows up to this crime scene that he just starts talking to a cop.
Yeah.
And the cop has no idea who he's talking to, but he just starts giving him information. He's like, oh, yes, this is going on and this too. And it's like, well, you sound like an authority, so you must be someone who's supposed to be here. He's like, wait, who are you anyway? Holy crap, it's Batman.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Importantly, Leslie's one of the few people that knows who Bruce Wayne is. And when she first shows up in the comic this is based on, she has no idea. And they don't have an appointment in Crime Alley where they agree to meet each other. It just so happens every year that she comes back to see the place where the Waynes were murdered, and Bruce comes back and sees her. And she's just there as a concerned citizen that saw a little kid that got his parents killed in front of him, and then she appreciates that in him and has no idea that Batman is that same kid, and it's a really cool relationship.
This ending image is kind of a tearjerker, dude.
Oh, it is.
That's good stuff. And I like that it calls back to it from earlier. We got to see it already, and then it ends on it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's totally a tearjerker. The comic ends with Batman on his chair smiling, and it's still just as sad.
Cool. I've got to read that.
Yeah, it's Detective 457. It's probably going to be collected in Showcase Volume 7 whenever that comes out.
All right, well, Steve, we found a plethora of stuff to talk about in this episode. Anything you wanted to bring up that you didn't get a chance to because we were just in the moment?
No, I don't think so. This episode speaks for itself really well. If you haven't seen it, I really recommend it, even if you don't watch Batman the Animated Series. Like, it's just a great standalone episode.
It's fantastic, yeah. It's one of the best. Once again, there's a few of these that I wish I had taken the time to go back and watch again before I did my top 10 back when I did that.
Oh, yeah.
Because this would have been close, if not on there.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. It's one that is more rewarding on each watch, and I'm sure now that list will be quite a bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're only, 26 in now, according to this. Episode 27 will be going next week into Mad as a Hatter. And I guess that's Mad Hatter's first appearance.
Yes,
which
Mad Hatter's first appearance.
Tells me
and it's
what it is. Okay, so that's the whole he's going after Alice thing, and yeah.
Also, that's coolly, the episode aired on my birthday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. 2 years before I was born, but still.
I'm assuming that's not just knowledge you had already and that you're just noticing it now.
No, it's knowledge I had already.
Of course you did. Hilarious. Well, anyway, everybody, thanks so much for watching Bat Chat. Sure hope you enjoyed it, and let us know what you thought of this episode if you watched it as well. We'll see you next week for Man as a Hatter. We got Just Dreams in Darkness after that, which is another really great episode for this season, volume, what have you. And we're going to be on it too. Just before you can say Holy Batman, we're on to 2. And anyway, Holy Season 2 Batman. And anyway, thanks again for watching. We sure appreciate it. We'll see you next week. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Steve Baxi.